Hello, everybody, Road Warriors 627, and welcome back to another episode of One Turn Route, the show where we talk all things racing, mainly for interviews, and that's what we have again today, the third interview of the One Turn Route series. We had Jack Sargent, we had Sammy Roseman, and today we have Sketchy the Horse Guy, otherwise known as Nathan, who showed up in a few of my videos before. Please say hi.
Hello.
So we're going to learn a little bit about my good friend Nathan and his ties to horse racing, his YouTube channel, and more in this video. Very enthusiastic, puts out great content. Please go subscribe to him on YouTube. Look for the channel Sketchy the Horse Guy, which I will have linked down in the description below. So how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been looking forward to this for a while. It's just that we never really had time to plan it.
Well, now I have all the time in the world since it's the summer, so that's great. What we're gonna
Woot.
Great. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break this video up into a few different sections, as we've done for the previous two interviews on the channel. We've got generic questions. We've got a little more interesting questions. I'm going to add a little section for you about your YouTube channel, and then we're going to finish it off with the speed round at the end.
Alrighty, let's do this.
Are you ready for the most generic questions of all time?
Hi, I'm always ready.
Okay, so number one, obviously, what got you interested in racing?
My grandfather would sometimes watch horse racing on the TV while he would do his workouts, and eventually, the most specific memory that I can remember was I was walking in and I found the 2010 Breeders' Cup Marathon being played on the television. My grandma was watching it, so I gave it a look. And so, the first named horse that I knew the name of was El Doffer. And I also got introduced to it with Calvin Burrell punching Javier Castellano. Quite an introduction. Then also Zenyatta, but not the good kind.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if that was that race with I remember El Doffer. I think did Velasquez ride that horse?
Yes, that was the first time I ever saw Johnny Velasquez. He also was the same jockey who won and rode in the first Kentucky Derby I ever watched. So he does have a bit of a special place for me.
Velasquez is my favorite jockey too. I must say he rode the first winner I ever cashed in my life as well.
Animal Kingdom? Was it Animal Kingdom or was it Always Dreaming?
Oh no, it was Guilt Trip at Belmont.
Oh, I thought you said Kentucky Derby. Whoops.
No,
But I get what you mean.
I haven't picked a Derby winner since before that.
Oh boy.
My
but
last
yes.
Super Saver was my last Derby winner.
Oh, ouch. That's before even when I started watching horse racing.
Yeah, it's been a while, but at least I do better in the Belmont. So hopefully I can pick the winner there this year. Hopefully you can too.
Thanks. I haven't had much luck in the Belmont. I tossed Sir Winston, and that was the last time I picked a Belmont winner. Well, actually, wait, I picked His the Law, but that's like the easiest thing ever.
Yeah, I know, that barely even counts. I know. It's not even a real Belmont Stakes either.
Yeah, that was when I was going ham in on the whole Tacitus stuff.
Well, he did run the best race that day, but I got lucky that Sir Winston won.
Yeah.
Good return. As my second choice in the race. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. And maybe it's connected a little bit here. What's your favorite race every year and why?
Favorite race every year. I knew this was definitely the question that caught my eye when I was watching the episode with J Sarge. I've never really had a particular favorite race, quote unquote, without being like super generic. Like the Kentucky Derby, like as blatantly obvious as that sounds, has always been my favorite race because it's the only time that people outside of my little friend group like watch it, and thus like I see all my friends just sitting on the couch and it's a happy time. Like I see all my best friends on the couch and everyone's happy and I'm in my element.
That's cool. I understand that. It's just that hardly anybody ever comes over to my house to watch the Derby anyway. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of a loner in that respect. This year, I'm taking a few people to go see the Belmont Stakes in person.
Fair enough.
So that'll be
And
nice for them.
And while this race definitely isn't my number one favorite, I do have a soft spot for the Breeders' Cup Marathon, or what it's called now, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Stakes. As mentioned before, it was the first race I watched. So even if it is no longer a Breeders' Cup race, I still like watching it and seeing the horses go long, especially because you don't see that anymore.
Kind of sad, actually. Distance used to be the name of the game. Um,
Yeah, it is kind of forlorn seeing it being reduced to this Grade 2 race, but I'm still happy I'm still happy for it. I still like the race.
okay, so you've told us your kind of favorite or favorites of races every year. Is there a big race every year you tend to handicap well and pick the winner of?
I haven't really done enough serious handicapping to say that I have good luck in certain races. I mean, technically, this is kind of a wise ass kind of move. But I've technically been good at the Saudi Cup. I mean, I picked Maximum Security, which was the easiest bet ever, and I used Mishriff down under and gave him some really good. I gave him a heap of praise before the race. So in those two Saudi Cups, I've at least been somewhat fortunate.
Okay, and lastly in this category, what's the most exciting race you've seen in person at the racetrack?
Most exciting race I've seen in person. There are a couple. This one was more scary, but I watched American Pharoah win the Preakness, but it was more scary because I'm a bit of a brontophobe, which means I have a fear of thunder. So it was mostly me just covering my ears. But I was happy to see American Pharoah cross the line in the murk of my eye. But if you want some, but if you want, but if you want to talk about serious thrills, it would probably be I think it was the 2016 Perfect Sting Stakes. It was I forget who won the race, but it was a real photo finish. And when all was said and done, I got $35.
Oh, well, that's good. And to be honest, that kind of leads us into the next section of questions. The at least a little bit more interesting section. So
Yeah.
the first question there is, what's the best bet you've ever made, or the best pick, or the bet that's yielded the biggest return? Any of those would suffice as an answer.
I mean, I hate to admit it, but I'm not exactly that good at being audacious. I'm a chalker. So that $35 payout was probably my best money bet, but I have taken pride in giving some underrated horses mentions, such as Rombauer mentioning that he was the best closer, which I mean I turned out to be right. And same with giving Mishriff a lot of praise, even though I never and when it comes to payouts, I don't really pay a lot or I don't bet a lot. Like I only bet when I'm actually at the track. So I never do online betting. So I can't really say greatest payout, but those are the sort of picks that I've done that I take a lot of pride in.
Very good. Next question. What's your most important factor when you're handicapping or looking at a race?
Um as generic as this sounds, definitely statistics, but like that but that's very broad. You know what I mean? Statistics was always how I went when I was younger, which basically meant I picked the favorite every time. You know how it is when you're fourth grade. But when as I get older, I kind of appreciate things such as horses that have excuses. Like I can't really think of an exact factor that always attracts me to certain horses, but there are certain things like horses that do well in spite of certain things, or horses that are clearly being overlooked because they tend to have a lot of trouble. Or this is one of my favorites: superstitious coincidences. This isn't like one that you should take because it's not professional in any way. But like for example, I liked Crowded Trade because he had the exact same statistics, trainer, and jockey as Cloud Computing. Obviously, it didn't bode so well, but I do like that kind of superstition.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the same reason I picked Crowded Trade. If we're going to be honest here. Um,
Exactly. And like for the I guess other part that I was mentioning about horses that show potential, I guess Mischief would be a great example because a lot of people would obviously dismiss him at first glance because he was a Euro running on the dirt, but and others would say that he needs a bit more distance than a mile and a quarter, but he came second in the Saudi Derby at a 1 mile distance. And I thought that was a perfect example of, hey, this horse can run on dirt and some people are failing to realize this. Like that's me at my best strategically.
No, those are very important factors. And look, superstitions work out a lot of the time, so I'm not blaming you at all there. Any
Yeah,
angle, any angle is a good angle if it works out.
exactly.
Okay, so this is kind of a weird question I like to ask, and it's something that really is very specific to me because I have a very cut and dry answer. So let's say you're going to the racetrack. Where's your favorite place to sit or hang out? And you could give different answers if we're talking about different racetracks too.
It depends. At Royal Ascot, I went there once. I always liked sitting on the benches right near the finish line because it was just so nice sitting on the grass. Unfortunately, some days we were kicked out because we didn't have fancy enough clothes. I'm sorry, I'm not posh. For other tracks that aren't British, I tend to like not sitting on the benches per se, but actually having a little bit of altitude, like being higher up, like floor 3 or 4, because even if you can't get a seat that is exactly on the wire, you can still see really well.
Let me just say something right there. Screw them. Screw that. Because I'm going to be totally honest with you. And some people think that you should dress up to go to the racetrack. No, you shouldn't. You're giving these people your money. They're taking out between 15 and 24%, sometimes more. And they expect you to dress up? Are you kidding me? I don't care if it's different tradition over there or whatever. You're going to lose money, chances are. And you're going to make people dress up. I felt so bad because the first Belmont Stakes I went to in 2017, I read on the website that you should probably dress a little nice, like wear certain stuff. So I said, you know what? Just to be safe, I'll wear jeans and a polo shirt, right?
Yeah.
That was even too much for me. From then on, I'm wearing my normal cargo shorts because they have a ton of pockets. I need a ton of pockets for the program, for my tickets, for my pens, for my New York Post page that I rip out all the time when I go to the track. I need the room in my pockets. And now PPE, masks, hand sanitizer, all that stuff, gum, a drink. I got 8 pockets on my shorts. That's what works out best. And I wear a t-shirt. Even to the Belmont Stakes. I don't care. It's my track. What are they going to tell me?
Fair enough. Actually, speaking of 2017 Belmont, that is the only Belmont I've been to. Watching, I wasn't really a huge fan of that race per se because I wasn't rooting for Tapparit. So I was like, eh. So the last race definitely wasn't my favorite, but I still enjoyed watching a lot of the races. And my favorite part of that Belmont was that I got a picture with Bob Costas, and I treasure that so much.
I saw that picture. Yeah,
Oh yeah, didn't I send it in the group chat?
you did, and that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yes!
And Taprit, I think, was the only good opinion I had that whole day.
I definitely didn't have many good opinions, but I mean, it was a fun day. I mean, wasn't that the year that Songbird won?
It was. It was also the year that Baffert was juicing it up with Mike Smith, and they were winning everything.
And that was before Justify.
Yeah.
No shade to Justify. I think Justify was oddly enough one of the few clean Baffert horses, but after a while, the excuses run thin. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, and just hold on there, because we're gonna get there eventually. Uh,
Yes. I have a lot to say.
the Yeah, the reason I asked this is because I love the third floor at Belmont, and thank God I was actually able to go there yesterday. It felt like I was returning home The last time I was there was July 6th, 2019, because they closed it in the fall that year for some stupid ass reason, and then last year, obviously, it was just closed because of Corona and New York State being dumbasses. I digress. Let's move on to the last question in the more interesting section.
Hmm.
Best autograph or meeting with a racing person of interest, interaction with somebody at the racetrack who's famous or somewhat famous or that you look up to, anything like that.
Okay, this is a easy one. The 2019 National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame. I went down there, and I also that Friday. We were originally going to go to Old Friends, New York, and see Zippy Chippy, but they were closed, so I didn't get to see that. But instead, we went to the National Racing Museum Hall of Fame, and also we were going to have some fun watching Saratoga. But it was a Friday, so the best race there was the Tail of a Cat. Doesn't matter. What was important was that we specifically got a tour guide done by Tom Durkin. And what was also really cool was that Donna Brothers was also getting a tour guide at the same time. So throughout the whole thing, you just saw they were just making fun of each other. Like um he talked about how Tom Durkin was like, "Hey, I called your first ever race," and Donna would make a few jokes about, you know, some old jokes. They were just like taking the Mickey. It was just hilarious just seeing two great people that I've known for like decades, not like personally, but like known, like watched and looked up to. Like Donna Brothers was a part of the first Derby I ever watched, and I very strictly remember her on her lead pony talking about the horses. So it was awesome to get two in one go. Like I thought I was gonna piss myself or something because it was so exciting, and I even was able to at least prove some sort of knowledge because, um, funnily enough, I got this wrong. But they were talking about Jim Dandy. He won the Travers, and they said that that was the last race he won, or it was the only race he won. And I tried saying he won 3 races. I was wrong. He actually won 7, but they still liked my audacity, and he even would like try asking me questions when he talked about like Exterminator or Native Dancer. I actually got one wrong. He asked what was Native Dancer's nickname. I said I don't know, and he was like, "Well, that's a pretty good nickname, but his name was the Gray Ghost." Stuff like that. But I did get Exterminator right, the exact number of wins, and he was like, "You are a smart man," and I have never been so happy.
Durkin is my guy. Durkin was my idol growing up. I wanted to be Tom Durkin. I
I
want.
still want to be Tom Durkin,
Who
even
doesn't want to
even
be
now.
Tom Durkin?
Yeah, who doesn't want to be a race announcer with that much pizzazz?
I've got his signed letter to me hanging up about 15 feet from where I'm sitting right now, and it's always there when I wake up in the morning, and it's probably the most important thing I have in this room, material wise, and it's not close because I wrote him a letter to congratulate him on his retirement and saying how he's going to miss him so much. So Sam the Bugler gave it to him, and at the last minute, Sam the Bugler said, "Hey, Andrew, why don't you put your address on the back just in case
Yeah,
he wants to write you back?" And sure enough, he did.
that is amazing. Like me, like just like with the Bob Costa stuff, I got a photo standing next to him in front of the Secretariat statue. As I grow older, that photo is gonna mean so much more to me. It already means a lot, but as I get older, it's gonna be one of my most fondest pictures.
Wow. I've never gotten inside the paddock at Belmont despite going there for 16 years, or however long I've been going. Never got in the paddock yet.
I've never really been to the paddock, but like I was in the broadcasting. Like I was next to the broadcast where like he was talking and people were like getting autographs and pictures and junk.
Oh, that's
So
that's cool.
yeah, I remember it was weirdly one of the horses I very strictly remember seeing in the paddock, and one that kind of struck out to me was Green Grotto. Like for some reason, out of all the horses there, he struck out to me because he was so much bigger.
Green Grotto, I think they finally found a way to retire him. But somebody
Yeah, because
somebody finally found a way to retire him. Dude, you want to talk about a hard knocking, hard trying horse? He was the definition of that.
I remember when I first saw Green Grotto, it was when he beat Palace in the Gravesend handicap. I was not happy. I was rooting for Palace, but I remembered that name. And then later, my grandma was like, "Did you read the paper about this horse who won $1 million and was bought for free?" And I was like, "Oh, who is it?" And she's like, "Green Grotto." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." But like I watched plenty of his races. I watched him go to the lead and sometimes win. I watched on TV him winning the Carter. So and seeing him for some reason, like I think I saw like the Belmont horses in the paddock, before that race. But out of all of them, he just struck out to me. He was so huge, imposing.
Yeah, I watched that Carter too, and let's just say I was very, very happy with the
Yeah.
result. 54-1. He should have never been 54-1 in that
Well,
race.
that's why you should be happy that odds exist that go against your opinion.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Alright, so let's move on to the next section, and this is a few questions about your YouTube channel, Sketchy the
Alright.
Horse Guy. Please go subscribe if you haven't already. He's got a bunch of different stuff going on over there. You got previews, profiles, historical things. You name it, he's got it. So, when and why did you start your YouTube channel?
It's actually not my first channel. I actually have a few other YouTube channels that are about a couple of other different things that do not revolve around horse racing. But I created this YouTube account originally as an alt back in 2018. I just called it Horse Guy back then. But but I decided that because it was Horse Guy, I would just upload one video on it, and it was a horse riding video because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I uploaded a couple other really shite videos on there that I have since deleted. Like a lot of them are gone because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what kind of horse related stuff I really wanted to try. I wasn't getting anything off the ground, and then out of the blue, I decided why not cover the Kentucky Derby, and I did. And with this horse, Master Fencer. And that is the reason why I'm even making these. Because the video, at least in my mind at least, blew up. I mean, it has over 2,000 views now. It became my most viewed video I had ever done on any of my YouTube channels. If that video hadn't blown up the way it did, then I would not have been making all these videos. Also, I still appreciate this one comment by this one person who was like, "Hi, are you like 12? Go you." Because I was so squeaky. I was like 14 when I made that account. But that's why I'm here today. The sketchy part, that's just a nickname that I've had starting with my first YouTube account, and I carried it over into this. Decided to add that to the horse guy thing to make it a little more unique.
Yeah, I used to operate YouTube with a squeaky voice too. Thank God that went away in December of, was it 15 or 16? I guess it doesn't matter. But
I mean, I'll check for you.
You don't. Please don't. Please don't. I think it was 16. You don't need to.
Yeah.
I
My voice kind of began changing during 2020, especially during the pandemic. Like I think June, July, and August were the peak years where I got this voice when I started sounding like this.
Yeah, what happened to me actually, I got sick and my voice went way down, and people said, Andrew, why don't you just stay sick? And, well, actually, the voice just stayed.
After that, you were just. Yeah. I kind of had that too. Like I've had a few times where like my voice like just got super sick and raspy, and it stuck. So maybe that's how puberty works. You get sick and it stays.
Well, I'm happy to be removed from that for a while now, so that's good. I don't want to relive that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the worst punishments I could be given is being given my voice from 2 years ago. I'm sent to
Yeah,
hell.
I
That's what
would. I
happens.
feel the same way with my old voice too.
Yeah, never again. That's why we're adults or semi-adults now.
Well, I'm easily old enough to bet, so I maybe the mental age isn't there, but the legal age is. Anyway,
That's what matters.
that's what matters. What's your favorite video or a favorite series you've done on your channel? What, maybe not based on success, but which videos do you enjoy making the most?
Ones I enjoy making the most are definitely, without a doubt, you can tell which ones I like doing the most by whether they have background music in them or not. Because I'll add background music to videos I care about, such as the horse racing myths or the greatest winning streaks in horse racing videos. Those kinds of one-off history vids. Those are the ones I enjoy making the most. Because I do like making the derby profiles and the analysis and stuff, but they're mostly there just to pad it out when I don't have ideas. Because, after all, this is a secondary account. So I use the analysis stuff to keep my viewer base happy when I am low on creativity.
Wow, that's interesting. I never knew that about you. I thought you kind of made that as a integral part of your channel.
It's unintentionally integral. If I only had this account, it would be a lot more of horse racing history.
Wow, that's good to know. See, even I'm learning here. So
Exactly.
that's great. And what are your plans for the future with this channel, or do you even plan on starting even more channels?
I don't plan on starting any new channels about horse racing. This is my only racing account or horse account in general. I already have too many. When it comes to the future, I do see me still making videos well within to college. Like the other types of content that I do will probably patter out in a year or two when I graduate and go to Arizona. But even when I'm in Arizona, which fun fact will be for the Racetrack industry program, that's where I'm going. Since my life will be revolving around racing by then, if I get accepted, that at least, then I'll definitely continue to make racing videos, and it'll become my primary channel, and thus you'll probably see more unique analytical stuff, like the winning streak stuff, the horse racing myths, more historical videos.
Okay, though that's cool. I wish they had something over here like that, because I just didn't. When I decided where to go to college, I just did not want to leave the area, and I also wanted to do something that I knew would be kind of financially secure to let me live here in New York for a while. So believe me, I did give it a very minor thought to go out there, and I actually did go to Arizona 2 years ago on vacation, and I flew into Phoenix to go to the Grand Canyon and Sedona. And man, is it beautiful! But I like it here too much, so I decided
New
not to
York
do
is your
that.
home. It's a little different when you live in North Carolina and you don't have any horse racing to do. There is no horse racing in North Carolina. So if I want to actually have a place to go, then I have to move away.
Yeah, I understand that, but yeah, living 23 miles from Belmont and 16 miles from Aqueduct was definitely important into not wanting to leave.
Yeah, I would never move away. I probably would never move away either if I had two racetracks within my vicinity. But unfortunately, the closest racetrack for me is about 3 hours away in South Carolina, and it only runs once a year. In fact, it's not even a flat racing track; it's a steeplechase track.
Wow, that's tough. That's really tough.
I
But
think besides that, it's like Colonial Downs or whatever.
it shows you how much of a fan you are.
Yeah, for the most part, I just watch it on TV. But when I get out there, I'll be happy to finally have a racetrack that I can sit down in on a regular basis.
Well, that'll be great. And speaking of racetracks and speaking of New York, the Belmont Stakes is a little more than 2 weeks away. Actually, it's be about 2 weeks away when this video comes out. Maybe even less, depends on when I get it up. We're recording this on Friday, May 21st. Do you have any thoughts about Belmont weekend, the Belmont Stakes, any of the undercard races that are going to happen?
I don't have any like official good picks because I only really know which horses are going to be running when entries are finalized, but I do know that it should be a great day.
It should be. It's a hell of a card, and I've gone the last 3 years where people have been allowed. I went 17, 18, and 19. And this year, finally, for the first time, I'm going to go all 3 days of the racing festival. Thursday, which has 3 stakes. Friday, which is the main one I don't want to miss because it's got two really long turf races, the New York and the Belmont Gold Cup. And
The
then
Belmont Gold
obviously
Cup is kind
Saturday.
of like. And the Belmont Gold Cup, I also have a soft spot for because I love long races like the McKnight and the Elkhorn. I just like long races, man.
2 miles in that Belmont Gold Cup. Yeah, should be fun.
I did pick Red Cardinal during the 2017 running, but I mean, who wouldn't? He was the favorite. That's why it was like an easy choice.
Do you have any different approaches? And this is kind of a random question. I just want to throw this in as extra. Do you have kind of a different approach on big race days as opposed to regular racing days?
No, I kind of go in with the same old strategy every time because I don't bet regularly. So when I do bet, it's usually on those big race days. So the big race days are the normal days for me. No subversion of strategy for me.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I do both, obviously, and I tend to do better on regular days, but
Yeah, because the bigger days you kind of want to you want to go big or go home, and because of that you take bigger risks.
also too many freaking favorites win on the big
Yeah, it's so
days.
chop. I mean, no wonder I do so well, or I did so well when I was younger because I had no originality.
Well, look, if you have a lot of money, you can pay the bills playing the chalk. But if you don't have a lot of money like us, well, you just got to deal with.
Yeah,
You just
you're SOL.
yeah, both of us are unfortunately. Maybe we'll
That's
get
all
maybe
right.
we'll get rich one day.
Yeah, or I could just do it the normal way and just get a job.
Well, I think we should make that our priorities.
Of course, but maybe one day gambling will pay off.
All right, Sketchy or Nathan, whatever you want the fine people out there to call you.
You can call me whatever you want. If you know me for my online persona and I don't know you very well, then usually I expect you to call me Sketchy, and I'll be a little surprised if you call me Nathan. But because this is the racing community and the racing community is a little more personal, then most people call me Nathan, or I'm more okay with it than say if I was in another community.
Well, we've got the speed round coming up, and these kinds of questions are gonna. I'm just kidding. What are you talking about? We gotta talk about Baffert. We
All
gotta
right,
talk
let's do
about
this. Let's talk
Baffert.
about the elephant in the room.
What the hell do you think is going on?
I think he's just kind of stupid. I don't think he's evil or anything like that. I just think he's just kind of stupid when it comes to what he says and when it comes to how he does things. Like I think he's just, he's just too stupid to realize sometimes, ah crap, I accidentally did the dose a little too close to the race. Oh well, that kind of like adults. Not anyone evil like say Jason Service or anyone even remotely affiliated with him, Justice for Zenden. Uh, but I still think he's just I mean, for the biggest guy in horse racing, he's a terrible influence and role model.
I don't think I could have put my opinions any better than you just put yours, because I completely agree with everything you said.
Well, thank you.
Seriously, I think that's right on. I don't think he's anywhere near a Service or a Navarro. And believe me, I think there's other people out there that cheat, and most of the people agree with me on what those names are. And if you want to know what those names are, just look at my Twitter account or go on Horse Racing Discord, and you're gonna find out. But all you need to really do is look at the past performances and see the horses and see the trainers whose horses make dramatic improvements when they get switched to them, and run these ginormous buyers or Equibase or Briz figures that they've never run before, whatever metric you want to go by. It's not that hard. It's how the horse players figured out that it was service, and it's how the horse players figured out it was Navarro, and they didn't get caught for years after. The stats don't lie. The past performances don't lie.
Actually, this is kind of an injunction with good performances. Like during the Preakness day, I noticed that there was a lot of Mike Maker claimers that were winning these stakes races. Do you think he's just really smart, or do you think there's something else going on?
I've never suspected Maker as a juicer. How long were these races?
Uh, they're like usually they would say, this guy, he was a $60,000 claimer last year, and then Maker turns him into a stakes winner.
Well, I meant
Like,
as far as distance, because he tends to do a lot better with routers than with sprinters.
oh, yeah, a lot of them were route races. One of them was the Pimlico Special.
Oh yeah, well, geez, that race used to be huge.
Yeah, remember that? Man, the Pimlico Special is really a shadow of its former self.
Yeah, although it is better now than it was a few years ago. A few years ago, it was basically
Terrible.
non-existent. Yeah.
Yeah, it has gotten better. I do like races like the Pimlico Special that kind of bring in the B tier routers that no one really cares about, but I do. Similar to Oakland. I always like watching the Oakland races because I like seeing horses like Silver State or like a few years ago Carve and other horses like that who just rack up wins in those in graded stakes races, but not grade ones per se.
Geez,
It's just fun to see them slug each other.
maybe Tacitus should try some of those.
Unfortunately, they have too many. Unfortunately, they're too disappointed in Tacitus to even consider that. Like,
Yeah.
they really want Tacitus to fulfill their dreams. But yeah, if I was Tacitus' trainer, I would try Oaklawn. I would try those smaller end graded stakes races and run away and have a field day.
Well, Bill Mott's not a stupid guy. I wonder what he does this year.
Yeah, I wonder too. But I feel like he probably has a plan somewhere.
He's gotta. Now, are you ready for the speed round to close it out?
As I ever.
Okay, so the way the speed round works is just as you might expect. I'm going to give you a question and just give me the shortest answer possible. This is just intended to let me and the viewers out there learn just a little bit more about you, Sketchy. So let's
All
get
right.
started. Your favorite horse that you've seen in person?
Favorite horse I've seen in person. American Pharaoh's pretty high up there, but I also really loved Ben's Cat.
Favorite horse you've seen on TV?
Favorite horse I've seen on TV. Uh, shit. American Pharaoh's pretty high up there. I'll always say that, but I've always enjoyed the little guys. El Doffer was definitely a special spot for him. Um, Kaleidoscopio, his Breeders' Cup Marathon, I didn't grow to appreciate until way later on in life. That's just a couple. There's many others that I'm gonna remember right after this interview. I'm gonna be like, damn it, why didn't I say that?
And your favorite horse of all time? You don't even have to be alive.
Seabiscuit, all the way. It's my favorite movie and one of the many horse racing related things that I grew up with.
Your favorite racetrack?
Favorite racetrack, ones that I've gone to. Belmont's pretty freaking dope. Um, I'd have to put it high up there, but Ascot's in a whole nother league of lavish.
Your favorite type of race?
Favorite type of race? I do really like longer routes. I do really like the marathon races a lot. I always fall in love with the horses who win those races, like El Doffer, Made from Lucky, uh, Scuba. That's Kaleidoscopio. I've always liked longer distance races, particularly on the dirt because they're a rare breed, but I also don't mind longer distance turf. Also, sprint races. I know, complete opposite spectrum, mainly because the sprinters they last so long. Like Forense Fire winning the Run Happy, or Whitmore. I get to see a lot more of them, and thus I fall in love with the sprinters just as easily.
So that kind of leads me into the next one: to dirt or to turf?
I don't care, I love them both,
Your favorite
but I
type
do
of
prefer dirt a little bit.
your favorite type of bet?
Favorite type of bet? I've always been I always play this. I always like a win, place, and show bet. It's the easiest bet to make, and it's the simplest, and it's an easy, safe one that kind of fits into my safe, chalky ideals.
So Sketchy's going across the board. Your favorite announcer? I think you kind of already answered this.
Frank Miramati. Just kidding. Yeah, it's Tom frickin' Durkin. Who else would it be?
And then the last question of the formal interview, it's not actually a question, it's really a request. Please give one piece of advice to the average person or average racing fan out there.
Uh, for anyone who likes horse racing, uh, go with your gut and don't let other people tell you how to bet. Like, you can take their advice, obviously, and learn new strategies, but always be you when you pick a horse. I don't care if you pick a horse because you think the name is funny or whatever, but make it you. Make the bet specifically something you would do.
That is an excellent piece of advice, and a piece of advice, frankly, that I have gone against many times, and
I have to.
it's bitten me in the ass on numerous occasions. Well, this
Mhm.
was awesome. It was so great to have you here on One
My
Turn
pleasure, man.
Route. My pleasure as well. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers out there?
Wear a seatbelt.
Wearing a seatbelt's good. Like I always say at the end of the videos, pay your bills first. Do the obvious things.
And if you have dreams and aspirations when it comes to horse racing, go for it, please. We need more. We need as many horse racing fans as I can get. And if anyone likes horse racing and wants to talk about it, just hit me up, please. Like, you can check out, like, you can ask me on Discord or even Twitter, like, at SketchSome if you want to talk about horse racing. Just DM me, or Instagram, anywhere. I would always be happy to talk about horse racing.
Now is that sketch underscore some?
Yeah, yeah. That's.
Okay.
I think you've added my Twitter user before.
Right. So sketch underscore some on Twitter. Sketchy the Horse Guy on YouTube. Please go subscribe to this guy. He's got great stuff all the time coming out. Lots of different things. Not live analysis, taped analysis of races coming up. He's got a few challenge videos. He just did a challenge video of naming the Kentucky Derby winners since I think 1966. He's got historical things. He's got inaccuracies in horse racing movies. He's got
Yeah,
everything.
I even did that. Those
Anything
were
you
good
can
ones.
think of, Sketchy's got it. Please go check him out. It'll be well worth your time. Thank you so much for coming.
It was my pleasure again, Andrew. It was awesome to be a part of this.
All right, and we hope you guys enjoyed as well. And until next time, pay your bills first and enjoy racing wherever you may be.